The entire entertainment world stood still last night when news broke that Towanda Braxton, once the unshakable pillar of her famous family, had been taken into custody after an explosive FBI raid shattered the calm of her quiet Atlanta neighborhood. Fans are shocked, insiders are scrambling, and the Braxton dynasty is hanging by a thread. But the twist that sent social media into a meltdown wasn't the arrest itself, was the rumor that her own sister, Tamar, may have been the one who tipped off investigators. Yes, you heard that right. Whispers of betrayal, jealousy, and long-buried resentment are spreading faster than the authorities can issue statements. And emotions are running high as the family scrambles to control the narrative. Sources close to the situation claim that the tension inside the Braxton household had been boiling for months, with heated arguments erupting behind closed doors, alliances shifting overnight, and suspicions creeping into relationships that once seemed unbreakable. Now, with Towanda facing accusations that could tear apart everything she's built. Everyone wants to know, did Tamar really betray her own sister? Or is someone else pulling the strings in this shocking family downfall? The night the news broke, the entire Braxton family found themselves caught in a whirlwind they never saw coming. Towanda Braxton had always been the calm, steady voice among her sisters. The one who reminded everyone to breathe, to stay grounded, to ignore the noise. But on this particular night, the noise was too loud to ignore. Flashing lights painted the street outside her home. Neighbors stood on porches, pretending not to stare. And the sound of heavy boots thumping up her driveway sent shivers down her spine. It all began with a single knock on the door, a firm and final reminder that whatever storm was coming had already arrived. Towanda opened the door with trembling hands, trying to maintain the poise she was known for. But the expression on the agents' faces told her that this wasn't a misunderstanding. And it definitely wasn't something she could talk her way out of. Within minutes, officers were sweeping through her home, collecting documents, snapping photos, and asking questions that felt more like accusations than inquiries. Towanda kept swallowing hard, trying to make sense of what was happening. She kept repeating there must be some mistake, but her voice didn't sound confident anymore. It sounded small, tired, defeated. Across town, Tamar Braxton was glued to her phone. Rumors were already circulating online, and notifications were lighting up her screen faster than she could read them. Fans were shocked. Reporters were scrambling. And Tamar's name was being dragged into conversations she had never asked to be part of. One message in particular kept popping up. People wondering if Tamar had been the one to report her sister. Tamar paced around her living room, her nerves frayed. Why would anyone think I'd do that? She muttered under her breath. But even as she said the words, a part of her knew why the rumor was spreading. Everyone had seen the tension between the sisters grow over the past few months. The Braxton sisters had always been close. But recently, cracks had been forming. Disagreements that used to be resolved with long phone calls were now turning into heated arguments. Old wounds that had been quietly buried were suddenly resurfacing. Jealousy, resentment, and misunderstandings were mixing together like gasoline and fire. Onlookers whispered that there had been a huge argument between Towanda and Tamar during a family dinner just weeks earlier. Some said the argument had ended with Towanda storming out. Others claimed Tamar had been in tears. In reality, the truth was far more complicated at that dinner. Towanda had confronted Tamar about something she'd heard from a family friend. That Tamar was planning to pitch a new reality show focused solely on herself without telling her sisters. Tamar had exploded, accusing Towanda of trying to control her life. Towanda shot back that Tamar was acting selfish, putting her ambitions above the family's unity. By the time the argument ended, both sisters were glaring at each other across the table, while the rest of the family silently prayed for a miracle to calm things down. Fans who had followed the Braxton family for years sensed that something was off long before the news broke. So when Towanda was taken into custody, the internet erupted. People began connecting dots that weren't there, mixing truth with speculation, and creating narratives fueled by drama rather than facts. Tamar found herself drowning in accusations she didn't understand. She called her manager, her publicist, her closest friends, hoping someone could tell her what to do. But all anyone could say was, "You need to get ahead of this." Tamara hated that phrase. Get ahead of what? A lie, a rumor, a misunderstanding. She didn't even know what Towanda was being accused of yet, only that it was serious enough to involve federal agents. Meanwhile, Towanda sat in a dimly lit interrogation room, her thoughts spiraling as she tried to answer question after question. The agents insisted they had uncovered irregularities in her financial records, suspicious transactions tied to her recent bankruptcy filing, and inconsistencies that suggested intentional deception. Towanda shook her head desperately. "Why would I even do something like that? I've been trying to get my life together," she pleaded. Her voice cracked, betraying her growing fear. The room felt colder with every passing minute, and the weight of the situation pressed down on her like a suffocating blanket back at the Braxton family home. Their mother, Miss Evelyn Braxton, was in tears. She was known for her strong opinions and even stronger personality, but this situation had shaken her to her core. She stared at the television screen, watching the breaking news banner scroll across the bottom. "Not my babies," she whispered. She called Tamara immediately, demanding to know what was happening. Tamara tried to explain, but her voice kept breaking. "I don't know, Mama. I swear I didn't have anything to do with this." Miss Evelyn sighed heavily, torn between comforting one daughter and worrying about the other. "This family is falling apart," she murmured. The sisters, who usually filled group chats with jokes and voice notes, were unusually silent. Trina and Tasha exchanged worried messages privately. They didn't want to believe that Tamara could betray Towanda, but the rumors were spreading too fast to ignore. Tasha finally said, "We need to talk, all of us. A tea." But no one seemed ready. Everyone was too emotional, too overwhelmed, too afraid of what they might learn. Family drama was nothing new for the Braxton clan, but this felt different. This felt bigger, darker, like a storm none of them were prepared to face. As the night dragged on, Towanda was released but not cleared. She walked out of the building with her head down, surrounded by flashing cameras and endless questions. "Towanda, did your sister turn you in? Towanda, are you guilty? Towanda, what's your statement?" She didn't answer any of them. She simply got into her car, closed the door, and let the tears she'd been holding back finally fall. The weight of humiliation, fear, and betrayal pressed heavily on her chest. She kept thinking about Tamara. Was it possible? Could her own sister have played a role in this nightmare? The thought made her stomach twist. Towanda drove to her mother's house, needing comfort more than she'd ever needed it before. Miss Evelyn opened the door, her face filled with heartbreak. Towanda collapsed into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "Mama, I didn't do anything," she cried. Miss Evelyn stroked her daughter's hair, whispering softly, "I know, baby, I know." But even as she comforted Towanda, she couldn't ignore the nagging fear growing in her own heart. If Towanda didn't do this, then who set her up? And why? Just as Miss Evelyn was about to ask Towanda to explain everything she knew, her phone buzzed with another message. She glanced at the screen, her eyes widening. It was a screenshot from social media, a post claiming there was leaked audio of someone close to Towanda speaking to investigators. Miss Evelyn's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the post. Towanda looked up, noticing her mother's sudden silence. "What is it?" she asked nervously. And that was the exact moment everything shifted. The post claimed the voice in the audio sounded eerily similar to Tamara's Towanda's. Hearts skipped a beat. The room fell silent. Towanda stared at her mother with wide, terrified eyes, her breath catching in her throat. The idea alone felt unreal, impossible, almost cruel. "Mama, no. No, that can't be real," she whispered, shaking her head so hard her curls brushed against her face. Miss Evelyn hesitated before handing her the phone, her hands trembling. The screenshot showed a post that had already been shared thousands of times. The caption was something sensational like "exclusive leaked audio reveals insider tip-off." But what hit Towanda the hardest were the comments. Dozens of people were already tagging Tamara's name, speculating, accusing. laughing at the chaos. 2WAN. Single quotes. Hands trembled as she pressed play on the clip. The audio was muffled, distorted, clearly recorded secretly, or edited. A woman's voice spoke quietly in the background, giving what sounded like information about suspicious accounts and forged signatures. The voice did sound similar to Tamira's, but the quality was so poor it was impossible to be sure. Still, the implication alone sent a wave of panic through her chest. She paused the audio halfway, unable to listen any further. This isn't right. Someone is trying to frame her. Someone is playing games, she insisted. Even though every nerve in her body buzzed with doubt, Miss Evelyn sat beside her, rubbing her back gently. Baby, we don't know what's real yet. People online lie just for attention. But the worry in her voice betrayed her calm words. She knew how fast rumors could destroy a family's reputation. We need to talk to Tamira before we jump to conclusions. But Tamira wasn't answering her phone. In fact, Tamira had turned her phone off hours ago without realizing how quickly the story was spiraling out of control. She was at her best friend's house, pacing the kitchen floor while venting her fears. I don't know why people think I'd ever do something like that. She cried. Me? Report my own sister? For what? Attention, revenge. I'm not that person. Her friend Kiana leaned against the counter with her arms folded, watching Tamira unravel. Look, you know better than anyone how the internet works, Kiana said softly. The more dramatic the rumor, the faster it spreads. People love a messy story. And right now, you and Towanda are the center of it, Tamira groaned, covering her face with her hands. I need to talk to her. I need to explain. Kiana nodded toward the phone on the table. So call her. Tamira sighed and whispered, I'm scared of what she might think. What if she already believes the rumor? Meanwhile, back at Miss Evelyn's house, the tension was growing heavier. Tasha and Trina arrived in a hurry, both out of breath and anxious. They hugged Towanda tightly, whispering words of comfort as she fought back tears. But eventually, the conversation shifted to the audio. Tasha frowned as she listened. It does sound like her, she admitted reluctantly. Trina shook her head. Lots of people sound similar on bad recordings. Y'all know how folks online manipulate stuff? Still, the uncertainty left everyone uneasy. To WAN. Took a deep breath, wiping her eyes. I need to talk to her. I need to hear from her mouth what's going on. But before she could try calling again, there was a knock at the door. Everyone froze. Miss Evelyn slowly stood, peeking through the window. Relief washed over her face. It's Cousin Mel, she whispered, opening the door. Melissa, their outspoken cousin, stepped inside with the energy of someone ready for a fight. All right, she declared, tossing her purse onto the couch. Whoever leaked that audio did it on purpose. Someone's trying to tear this family apart. She spoke so loudly that the whole room shifted from confusion into urgent attention. Melissa continued, I have a friend who's good with audio editing. He checked that clip. He says it's been cut up, spliced, and layered. Someone mixed different voices to make it sound like one person. Everyone gasped, including Towanda, who felt a wave of relief wash over her body so strong she had to sit down. Miss Evelyn clasped her hands together, whispering, Thank God. But Melissa wasn't finished. Look, it's still dangerous. Even if it's fake, millions of people already believe it. And whoever created this mess is trying to push one story and one story only, that Tamira betrayed her own blood. Trina's jaw tightened. But why? Who would want to turn us against each other like this? Melissa shrugged. Publicity, revenge, money. Who knows? But it's someone who knows enough about y'all to stir up drama. And someone who knows that y'all are already dealing with internal tension. Towanda felt a familiar ache in her chest. She knew Melissa was right. The last few months had been rough on the sisters' relationship. The stress of individual careers, the pressure to stay relevant in the industry, and the endless comparisons from fans had created a silent resentment none of them wanted to admit. But no matter what they were going through, Towanda refused to believe Tamira would do something like this. Just then, the doorbell rang again. Everyone jumped. Trina hurried to open it, and there stood Tamara, her face pale, her eyes swollen from crying. She stepped inside slowly as all three sisters stared at her. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence stretched out so long it felt heavy, suffocating. Finally, Tamara whispered, "I swear I didn't do this." Her voice cracked with emotion. Towanda looked at her sister, searching her face for any sign of deceit. But all she saw was fear and heartbreak. "Tamara," she said softly, "did you talk to anyone? Did you tell anyone anything about my finances?" Tamara shook her head violently, tears spilling over. "No, I swear to you. I didn't tell anyone anything. Not a friend, not a manager, nobody. I would never betray you. Even when we were arguing, even when I was angry, I would never do that to you." Her voice trembled as she continued, "Please believe me." Tawanda's eyes softened, and she took a step closer. "I want to believe you. I really do. But that audio, it sounded," Tamara cut her off, raising her voice in desperation. "It wasn't me. It's fake. Please, Towanda, you have to trust me." The room grew tense again, emotions climbing like rising flames. Miss Evelyn finally stepped in, her voice firm but gentle. "Girls, stop. This is exactly what whoever did this wants. They want y'all to turn against each other." Melissa crossed her arms, "And they're doing a damn good job of it too." Towanda looked at Tamara again, this time letting her guard drop just a little. "Then help me understand, Tamara. If it wasn't you, then who would know enough to talk about my bankruptcy? Who would know those details well enough to fake a recording? We need answers." Tamara wiped her eyes. "I don't know, but I can think of someone who had access to all our business stuff. Someone who always acted like he knew more than he should." The room leaned in as she whispered a name that made everyone's stomach drop. Her ex-manager, a man who had once handled both sisters' schedules, records, and personal bookings. A man they had fired months ago after he was caught trying to negotiate side deals behind their backs. A man who had left angry, bitter, and threatening to reveal the truth about the family. Miss Evelyn's voice dropped to a whisper. "Lord have mercy. You think he did all this?" Tamara nodded slowly. "I think he's trying to get revenge, and he's using us to do it." The room erupted into whispers, theories, and fears. If Tamara was right, this situation was far more dangerous and calculated than they had imagined. The sisters exchanged looks that were a mix of fear, suspicion, and the faintest glimmer of hope. Because if the ex-manager was behind everything, then they might finally have a way to clear Tawanda's name. But just as they began piecing things together, Melissa's phone buzzed loudly in her pocket. She checked the screen and gasped, "Y'all, you need to see this." Everyone crowded around her as she opened a new viral post. A post claiming that a second audio clip had been leaked on it, and this time it mentioned not just Tamara, but also another Braxton sister. The room fell into a heavy, breathless silence as Melissa held her phone out, the screen glowing with that tension-filled post. No one moved at first. It felt like the air itself had thickened, like even breathing had become a struggle. Trina was the first to find her voice. Another clip. "Who is it now?" she asked, her voice trembling just enough to betray her fear. Melissa swallowed hard and tapped the play button. The audio began with static, then a deep, distorted voice whispering something about the Braxton sisters hiding more than bankruptcy issues. The static faded, and then came the part that made everyone's heart drop. A new woman's voice entered the recording, and this time, it sounded suspiciously like Tasha. Wana and Tamara froze in place, their eyes widening. Tasha stepped back instinctively, shaking her head before the clip even finished playing. No, that's not me. I swear that is not me." Her voice cracked as she placed a protective hand over her chest. "I would never talk behind y'all's backs. Never." But the audio continued, mentioning details even more personal. Things only someone extremely close to the family would know. Mentions of private arguments, financial struggles, old family decisions, and sensitive conversations from years ago. Whoever edited this clip had gone deep. Too deep. Too deep. Melissa turned off the audio with a sharp tap, her jaw clenched in anger. This is getting out of hand. Clearly, someone is editing these clips. The timing is too perfect, the details too targeted. She looked around at each sister. They're trying to turn all of you against each other. Tasha sank onto the sofa, wiping tears away before they could fall. "Why me? Why my voice?" she whispered. "I didn't do anything. I literally haven't said a word about your situation, Towanda, not a word." She shook as she spoke, the realization hitting her that the rumors might not stop with Tamira. "They're coming for all of us," she added, her voice barely above a whisper. Towanda rubbed her temples, feeling overwhelmed. First they blamed Tamira, now Tasha. What's next? She looked around the room, her eyes pleading for clarity, for answers. Whoever is doing this knows exactly what they're doing. They want to make it look like this family is betraying itself from the inside. Miss Evelyn stepped forward, her voice strong in a way only a mother's could be. "Listen to me, all of you. This is not the time to turn on each other. This is the time to stand together." But even as she spoke, her hands shook slightly. She was scared, too scared of how far this would go, scared of what the world would believe, scared of seeing her daughter's names dragged through mud they hadn't stepped in. Temi sat beside Tasha, taking her hand gently. "I believe you," she whispered. "I know you wouldn't do this." Tasha swallowed her tears, nodding weakly. "And I believe you too. Whoever made those clips wants to divide us. I'm not falling for it." The moment felt fragile, delicate, like the slightest wrong word could shatter the sisters all over again. But for now, they clung to each other. Then Melissa cleared her throat. "Y'all, there's more." Everyone groaned, fearing another blow. But Melissa raised her hand. "Not a clip. Something else." She opened another message from her audio expert friend. He looked deeper into the first recording, and he said something interesting. The clips weren't just edited. They were pieced together using professional-grade software. The kind of software RX Manager could access. Toyna's eyes narrowed. "So everything is pointing back to him." "Either him," Melissa said slowly, "or someone working with him." Tamira's eyes widened. Someone working with him? Who would work with him? He burned almost every bridge he had with us. Trenna finally spoke up, having remained quiet most of the time. "Don't forget," she said softly, "when y'all fired him, he didn't leave quietly. He said he was going to expose the family. He said y'all made a mistake underestimating him." Miss Evelyn winced. "I remember that day. I told you, girls. Never trust a man who feels entitled to your success." Towanda paced the room, her mind racing. But why throw me under the bus with fake bankruptcy fraud evidence? Why involve the FBI? This is way bigger than revenge. Melissa folded her arms. Because if he can convince the world you're guilty, then anything he releases after that looks believable. Chaos sells. Drama sells. And if he's been working with tabloids or gossip channels, the sisters shared a collective gasp. "He's feeding them this," Tamira whispered, "for money." Tasha clenched her fists. "He's using our lives to create clickbait." But before the conversation could go deeper, another notification popped up on Melissa's phone. Her eyebrows shot up. "Oh no, y'all aren't gonna like this." "What now?" Towanda asked, dread filling her voice. Melissa turned the screen around. There was a new headline, already spreading everywhere. Anonymous source claims the Braxton sisters hid financial secrets from each other for years. The subtitle read, "Family Insider says more arrests may follow." The room exploded with panic. Double quotes. "Oh my God. They're trying to destroy us," Tasha cried. "They're making it look like all of us are crooks," Trina added. Towanda felt her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. This is spiraling out of control. We need to get ahead of this. We need to speak out. Tamira shook her head. "Not yet. If we talk now, they'll twist our words and use them against us. We need evidence." Real proof. Melissa nodded. My friend said he can analyze the second clip too. Maybe he can trace the editing patterns, find fingerprints, something that links it to the person behind it. Miss Evelyn looked at her daughters with a mixture of fear and determination. Let him. Do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Suddenly, a loud buzzing filled the room. Tawanda's phone. She glanced at the caller ID and froze. It was her lawyer. She answered immediately. Hello? Please tell me you have something. But instead of reassurance, the lawyer's voice sounded tense. Towanda, we need to talk. Now, I just received a call from the investigators. Someone submitted new documents anonymously. Documents that claim you hid assets during your bankruptcy process. We need to meet first thing in the morning. Towanda felt the blood drain from her face. But I didn't hide anything. I swear I didn't. I believe you, the lawyer said. But the FBI received these documents. They're taking them seriously. Towanda lowered the phone slowly, feeling faint. Someone is trying to frame me even deeper, she whispered. They're trying to make it look like the fraud is real. Tamira moved to her side instantly. Sister, listen to me. You're not alone. We're going to fight this together. Miss Evelyn nodded firmly. This family stands united, always. But as they all gathered around Towanda, offering support, reassurance, and a fragile sense of unity, Melissa's friend sent another message. This one contained a snippet of the second audio clip, enhanced and cleaned up. Melissa pressed play. The room fell silent again because beneath the distortion, beneath the chopped-up editing, was a male voice giving instructions, a voice that sounded unmistakably familiar. The ex-manager's voice. But then, the very end of the clip, just before it cut to static, another voice whispered something barely audible. Voice no one expected. A woman's voice. And it sounded like someone from within the family circle. Someone they hadn't even suspected yet. The room froze. Everybody stared at each other because the voice sounded like Trina. The moment the enhanced audio ended, the room felt like it had been plunged into ice water. Everyone stared at Trina, unable to form words, unable to breathe, unable to make sense of what they'd just heard. Trina's face went pale. Her lips parted slightly as if she wanted to speak, but couldn't. The silence grew so thick it pressed against the walls. Finally, Trina forced out a whisper. That's not me. Her voice trembled, barely audible. I didn't say that. I never said anything like that. But the room was too stunned to respond immediately. Even Miss Evelyn, normally quick to defend her daughters, stood frozen. She looked from Trina to the phone, then back at Trina again, as if her mind couldn't align what she felt with what she heard. Towanda took a slow, shaky breath. Trina. Her voice cracked as she spoke her sister's name. Why does it sound like you? Trina shook her head quickly, her eyes filling with tears. I don't know, Towanda. I swear I don't know. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't help anybody. I didn't betray you. She pressed her hands to her chest, desperate for someone to believe her. Please, you have to believe me. Tamira stepped forward cautiously. Trina, are you sure? You didn't talk to anyone? Even accidentally? Even something you didn't think was serious? No. Trina shouted, the panic in her voice sharp and raw. I didn't talk to anyone about anything. Not a friend, not a coworker, nobody. I would never drag this family into something like this. Melissa rubbed her forehead. Look. The man editing these clips is clearly mixing voices. Maybe he used an old interview of yours or some podcast where you talked. He could have stitched your words into something new. Taja nodded quickly, eager to ease the tension. Yes, that makes sense. He doesn't need her real voice. He just needs a sample. But despite the logical explanations, fear lingered in the room. The fact that the clip sounded like Trina was enough to shake the fragile unity. They were desperately holding on to. Miss Evelyn finally found her voice. Girls, she said softly, listen to me. This man, this person behind all of this, wants y'all to fall apart. He wants to turn you against one another. Don't give. him that satisfaction. She looked at Trenna and added, I believe, my child. I know Trenna didn't do this. Trenna covered her mouth, a sob escaping her. Miss Evelyn immediately wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. It's gonna be all right, baby. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. I promise. Slowly, the tension in the room lessened, but the fear didn't disappear. It just settled underneath the surface. Waiting, Melissa broke the silence again. We need to go deeper. My friend said he can trace audio fingerprints and see how many different samples they used. He can compare Trina's actual voice to the clip. Yes, do that, Tamara said quickly. The faster we prove it's fake, the better. Towanda nodded, though she still looked shaken. I can't believe he's doing all this. It's like he wants to destroy every single one of us. Melissa took a deep breath. That's exactly what he wants. And if he's going this far, he probably has more. He's not done. A heavy silence settled again at those words, the reality hitting each of them. This wasn't some small scheme or petty vendetta. This was a planned attack, a calculated sabotage meant to dismantle their careers, their reputations, and their family bonds. Tamara whispered, what if he leaks more stuff tomorrow? Or tonight? Melissa checked her phone again. He might, but I told my friend to start monitoring the uploads. He might be able to trace the account or at least find patterns. Anything that can help. Towanda felt her throat tighten again. My meeting with the lawyer is tomorrow morning. If these fake documents are part of this plan, they're trying to actually get me charged with something. She closed her eyes as fear washed over her. I can't go to jail for something I didn't do. Tamara put her hands on Tawanda's shoulders, steadying her. You won't. We're going to fight this. Every step of it, Tasha added. We're all in this together. Nobody's leaving you alone. For the first time since the chaos began, the sisters stood in a circle, physically connected. Hands on shoulders, arms embraced, holding each other up through the storm. The unity felt fragile but real. A small spark of strength pushed through the fear. Then suddenly, Melissa's phone buzzed again. Another message? Tasha asked nervously. Melissa checked. Her eyes widened. Y'all, you need to hear this. She played a voice note from her audio expert friend. His tone was serious, more serious than before. Okay, listen. The second clip is even more heavily edited than the first. Someone layered at least 6 voice samples to make the female voice. That's why it sounds like Tasha and Trenna. It's bits and pieces of different recordings assembled into one sentence. I can prove Tamira's voice was faked, and I can prove Tasha's and Trenna's were manipulated. The sisters gasped. Relief washed through the room like fresh air. But the message wasn't over. But there's something else, something more alarming. The male voice giving instructions. That wasn't just the ex-manager. There were 2 other voices layered behind him. One male, one female. And the female voice appears again in the enhanced version. It's someone close to him. Someone who had personal access to the family. The voice note ended. The room fell silent again. Towanda whispered, someone close to him? Who? Tamara frowned. He doesn't have many allies left. We knew most of his circle, Tasha added, unless it's someone who pretended to be on our side too. Miss Evelyn shook her head slowly. Lord help us. It might be someone who worked with us before. Trenna wiped her tears away. Like who? A former assistant. A stylist. A publicist. Towanda suddenly froze. She lifted her head slowly, her expression changing as a memory surfaced. Wait, she whispered. When we fired him, didn't he start working with someone else in the industry? Someone who used to be around us? Tamira's eyes widened with realization. Oh my God. He started working with our old accountant. Everyone gasped in unison. Tasha clapped a hand over her mouth. She knows all our financial information. She knows every detail, every number, every form. Melissa's eyes narrowed. And if she's bitter about being let go, she has every reason to help him. Trenna finished. The entire room erupted with understanding. The pieces were finally clicking together. The ex-manager wasn't acting alone. There. Former accountants, someone who had full access to their documents, signatures, and financial history, was helping him frame Towanda and destroy the family. Towanda felt a surge of shock, anger, and betrayal. She has my bankruptcy paperwork. She has everything. That's how they created those fake documents, Tamara added. And that's how they knew what to put in the audio clips, too. She probably provided all the details. Melissa stood up, determination written all over her face. All right, enough is enough. We need to take this evidence to the lawyer tomorrow. Show them the manipulated audio, the fake documents, everything. And we need to call the police, Tasha said. They're committing fraud, identity theft, defamation, all of it. Miss Evelyn nodded with fierce resolve. This family will not be broken by lies. Not today. Not ever. Towanda inhaled slowly, finding a strength she thought she'd lost. Tomorrow morning, we fight back. The sisters gathered again, this time stronger, united by truth and determination. The fear was still present, but now it sat behind a shield of solidarity. As the night grew quiet and the family began planning their next moves, no one noticed the small camera light blinking across the street, hidden behind a window. Someone was watching. Someone was recording. Someone was planning the next move in this twisted game as the sun rose over the Braxton family home. The world outside was still buzzing with rumors, theories, and chaotic headlines. But inside, the sisters stood stronger than ever, ready to face whatever came next. The truth was finally beginning to surface. The real villains were slowly being exposed, and for the first time since the nightmare began. There was a glimmer of hope cutting through the storm. Yet despite everything they had uncovered, so many questions remained unanswered. Who else was involved behind the scenes? How far were the ex-manager and the former accountant willing to go? And what would happen when Towanda and her legal team confronted the investigators with the evidence of manipulation and fraud? Fans everywhere were glued to their screens, emotions running high as the story continued to unfold. Some defended the sisters fiercely, others doubted every new twist, and many were simply stunned, speechless by how deep the betrayal seemed to run. The family was left divided between fear and determination. But one thing was clear: this fight was far from over. Every step forward revealed another shadow, another secret, another threat waiting to unfold. And as the cameras continued watching from across the street, it became obvious that someone was not done stirring drama. And now, it's your turn to join the story. What do you think is going to happen next? Will the truth finally come out? Or will the villains behind the scenes strike again before the sisters can clear their name? Make sure you like this video if you've been hooked by every twist. Hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss an update. And drop a comment telling us whose side you're on and what theory you believe. Your voice matters, your thoughts matter, and we want to hear every bit of your drama-filled predictions. Stay tuned because this story is only getting started.